Hi there everybody, welcome to another video. On today's video I have this mini r53. This is a 2003 model and the Cooper S. And I'm just gonna have a look at the fuel filter here. So recently I changed the fuel pump. So the fuel pump, this is the back seat, by the way. I lifted the back seat. It's very easy, you just have to pull it and it comes out. So a few weeks ago I actually changed the fuel pump because it wasn't working. Now my fuel pump is working and the car started and it was running, but then it cut out. It was also misfiring. So I changed the spark plugs and it runs a little bit better, but it cuts out. So I'm beginning to think that maybe there's a blockage somewhere in the fuel system. Or obviously my next issue might be fuel injectors or something like that. However, the car has been sitting forever and the filter has never been changed, and I'm talking about 10 years or so, but the car hasn't been running really. So it could be that the filter is blocked, but I'm just taking the opportunity to, as part of servicing the car as well, giving it a filter change. Whether that solves my issue or not is another matter, but I want to change the filter either way, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. So the fuel pump is on that side and the filter's on this side. This is a UK car, so it's a right-hand drive, and to get access to here we need to remove these 5 10mm nuts, which I already removed. You can see all of them there, and then you need to take this little cover out, which might be a little bit stuck, like a little bit stuck, but a little bit more stuck than you think. But all you have to do is really unstuck it. Obviously, if you use plastic prying tools, you won't scratch your paintwork, so just be advised of that. Okay, there we are. Now in here we need to take this ring out, and also we need to disconnect this part of the fuel. This is so the fuel gets pumped from that side here through the filter, comes out of here and goes into the engine, ideally. So we want to disconnect this hose and then open this up, and for that we're going to need a hammer and a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver. Now I'm pretty sure there is a tool, I think there is a special tool, but definitely there is a tool that you can actually use to open this and even to close it and torque it to the correct torque. But you can always use this stuff as well, but you kind of just need to know a little bit of how much you're going to close this to. But the first time you open it, it's going to be pretty hard. You have to bang it quite hard. So I do recommend having a flathead screwdriver that is quite big and it covers the whole section of those little bits there, because if you hit it on the corner of that bit, that bit may start getting damaged or bent or something. So you want to hit the whole, you want to cover the whole section there if possible, whichever one you choose. So anyway, that's what we're going to do, and disconnect that. It is better to do this when you have less fuel, but I haven't got a choice right now because I can't really drive the car because it doesn't stay on. And at the moment it's not even starting, to be fair. And if I put a bit of fuel into the intake, it actually starts and runs for a few seconds. So I do know that it's starving of fuel for whatever reason. So I will be disconnecting the battery before I start working with the fuel system. And the battery is in the boot, pretty sure you know that. and if you leave this carpet, that's where your battery is. So I've disconnected the negative side here and just push it there and leave it disconnected. But do remember, if you close your back hatch here, you're not going to be able to open it again, and that means you would have to put some power to the engine in order to open the boot, which means either leave your hatch open like this until you finish your job, but if the job is taking longer and you need another day, then I would just close this slightly like this. You don't need to shut it, otherwise, like I said, you're going to need to disconnect it, power it from the engine, which is not the end of days. You can still do that. So now we're here. I cleaned this area a little bit because it was quite dusty, and I just wanted to show you how to remove this hose here. We're gonna do it carefully with a pair of pliers like this, nose pliers, probably the best thing. Okay, so basically these two clips here, this green part here needs to be pressed in like so, and then you need to pull. While you press that, you need to pull this hose out. So those two clips are actually here as well. You can just see that. And you could potentially, if you were pressing those two, either you pull the hose by hand, but that could be a bit challenging if it's the first time you're taking this out. Was saying that came out, or you could use something like a screwdriver up here and obviously twist it a little bit and help yourself, but without damaging those green clips there. So you can put it there and twist it like this. This stuck. Otherwise, you can and should be able to pull these out like so. There you go. You don't really want to obviously damage this little green clip. I suppose you could buy another clip if you broke it. I'm pretty sure BMW will sell those. It's just a clip that is literally clipped onto the hose as well. So we can get that out of the way, and then try to open this thing. So as mentioned before, if this hasn't been out before, I still have the seal here. That little seal there will probably break or come out, like mine is come out while I'm cleaning. But clearly we never really done the filter on this car, so it's going to be maybe a bit hard popping this out, but it has to be done. Okay, it wasn't that hard. It's coming out. So I don't know if you noticed, but I am using a plastic hammer because my screwdriver has a metal ending here, but I don't really want any sparks being created. So you could use obviously you could use a screwdriver that has a plastic head, but this is too small. This one is too little. It probably just go in there. Okay, so we can then get this out. And I must admit, patience is always key to these jobs. This would probably be a bit stuck as well, but this has to come up. There we are. We have a rubber seal here, much, we may want to take it out as well, just to avoid being on the way. And technically we have to twist this open like a cup in order to open it. How hard is that going to be? I'm not sure just yet, and I don't want this bit of paper going in there either, so let's put it there, or let's just remove it. Don't really need it anymore. This car is like 100 years old now. Right, let me see how we're gonna remove that. Okay, so I'd just like to remind everybody that working with fuel and whatnot is not really a great thing or a great idea. So make sure you haven't got anything that can ignite. Fuel is very flammable and very dangerous, so just be careful with all of that. So technically we have to remove these. We need to remove this cover here, and what I've done is I sprayed some WD-40 around these grooves here to make it a little bit easier to remove. I left it soaking for a while, so my plan is, at this moment in time, is to put a screwdriver in here and twist this open. But one thing to be careful about is the inside of here there are some O-rings. Not sure you can actually see them, but there are some little yellow O-rings inside of there, so you don't want to damage those. So just be careful when you do that. It is a bit hard to open these. Hopefully the WD-40 will help us twist it open, but just be patient and take your time. And it will come to a stop, and that's where we stop. And then we need to sort of get this, pry this open as well. So it will be difficult. You may need the help of a screwdriver going from the front, from the back, and everywhere really. So again, I did spray some WD-40 as I mentioned to help this process. Because it's going to be a bit of a pain in the neck, especially when there is no room, much room in here. There goes my WD-40. It falls onto metal. It can create a spark. And that's what I mean about thinking about these things, just in case. It is kind of coming out. And at the same time, it's not. getting there, slowly but surely. You may find that inside of there, those little cables there is a fuel gauge on this side as well, and these wires here, you may actually find that they are all broken into pieces. So technically, if you find that, it would probably be a good idea to actually replace this whole unit. Just like I replaced my fuel pump the other day, which had all those little wires broken. So it could be an idea. Right, so I'm gonna have a fight with this for a little while and try to get it off. Okay, this took a while to come out. It does come out. It's just that there is an O-ring that is sitting around here, and it just takes a while. You have to wiggle it and wiggle it and wiggle it until it comes out. Now what I found here is that my tank, this little tank here where the filter is completely empty, and this is dry, which means there's no fuel coming into here, which means there's no fuel going into the engine. So at least now I know why there's no fuel and my car doesn't start. So it seems to me that I may have to replace all this thing, because, or unless this filter is completely blocked, obviously. I wouldn't expect it to be completely blocked. Sorry, so we need to get this filter out now, and it might be another pain in the ass, but okay, there we are. That's come out, and there is a little bit of fuel in there. You can see it's quite black, but I would expect this to be a little bit more full of fuel. That's the O-ring, which is the annoying O-ring that is sitting around the outside of that thing, but it basically goes in here. But anyway, and there is another O-ring inside of here, just around there, a little one like that one there, inside here. There's one there. So technically fuel comes out of here into the fuel filter, and then it will flow out to the sides and into the, well, actually it flows out, it's supposed to flow out of here. So technically the fuel comes on the outside, it goes into the filter, it gets filtered, and then it comes out of that hole. But for whatever reason that is not happening. So either that fuel filter is completely wet, or there's something else going on here that I may need to investigate in a minute. So I need to suck this fuel out. Or the other option is one of the pipes that feeds this is not feeding anything. So that would be the other reason why I'm not getting fuel out. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and clean that. Right, it's become a bit messy. I removed the fuel pump as well. So that's my brand new fuel pump. You can see the wiring in it. It's quite nice and new, but the one obviously on this thing, it's falling apart. But there is two fuel gauges basically. So you have that floater there for that fuel gauge, and then there's another fuel gauge on this one. Anyway, the reason I dismantle everything is because I wanted to find out why there is no fuel going from one side to the other. And basically there wasn't enough fuel. This side, the fuel tank basically goes from this end to that end, but it's got a division in the middle. It's got like a hump in the middle. So basically, if you haven't got enough fuel on that side where the fuel gets pumped and it runs dry, even if you have fuel on this side, it's just not going to function. So therefore I need to put a lot more fuel on my tank in order to get the car running. So it's a bit embarrassing, but I have discovered that the hump is quite high, so whatever fuel goes in here, in the other side, it has to be able to cover enough of the pump to get enough fuel. So anyway, I'm gonna fit everything back now. I was just taking the opportunity because my tank was quite empty, or literally completely empty. I cleaned it inside because it was really dirty, full of those bits from the wiring. And now I can fit it all back, and then we'll concentrate on what the fuel filter situation here. Okay, I've got my other side back together. Now I know I need fuel, and this is my new fuel filter here by Febi. What we get in this filter is, well, in this kit is obviously the filter, and we get some new O-rings as well. So I'm just gonna put this old stuff and maybe in this box here, and we have a bit of room here to open that. Right, so we have two small O-rings, 1 and 2, that thin one, and I'm gonna try not to drop them because they'll go missing forever if I do. And then you have these are the ones. This is the one that goes here. I'm not sure why I have two. It might be because when you replace this, technically you're meant to, if you wanted to take this out, you need to open the other side, to be honest, because you need to disconnect the housing from the other side in order to pull this out if you took it out. So I just got my tool here, this little small screwdriver on this O-ring here. Just got it on there to remove it. So we'll try to get that out. Okay, that went back in. But ideally, so that's one O-ring. Can put a new one. So there is a groove, obviously there is a groove from where this is coming out from, so the new one will sit in the groove. Also try to clean this obviously as much as you can. I'm actually thinking of replacing this whole thing because of the wiring, so that the wiring that's falling apart, well, the covering of the wiring, all this green stuff, all this stuff here, it's the insulation of the wires that are, but those wires are for the fuel gauge. so not exactly concerned about that as such, but obviously my fuel gauge may not work properly. Now there is another small O-ring sitting right here, so we want to remove this one as well. Get the new one in there. And I'm also going to add a little bit of just multi-purpose grease around this O-ring here. And also on this one here. Literally just a bit of multi-purpose grease to help my filter sit in there a bit better. Let's open the filter. That's the new filter there. So we have to push this filter in here, and with a bit of grease in there, it will hopefully slide in a little bit easier without much drama. That's in, and then this skinny O-ring sort of goes around here, the outside of this cover. And I'm also going to apply a little bit of grease around this O-ring here. That's gonna help us a lot when fitting these on top of this. Okay, so that went in there fairly easily, and now we have to push it in properly and twist it, and that is in. So just a little bit of grease really helps, matters a lot. And then I also have this here, which, yes, you guessed it, a little bit of grease in the inside, and the outside part is what I normally add. Just a little bit, like, I mean, you could add, I suppose, you could just put a little bit of WD-40 if you wanted to. Right, so this gasket here, I normally put it here first. Make sure it's sitting properly. I have to pull this out a bit, to be honest. can only sit one way, by the way, is with that bit in between these two pins. Okay. You may have to hold it down while you put this on. Okay, so make sure that when you fit in this, it's sort of going a little bit in by hand. And then we can tap it with the screwdriver and hammer. Okay, as I mentioned before, I think there is a tool that you can use that can torque this up to the required torque, which I don't have. But maybe I would suggest, if you, before you remove this, maybe you could mark it, like you could scratch it a little bit there, say, and then you match it with that. So you more or less know how many times you turn it when you take it out and then when you put it back in. So now my other hose is somewhere here. This hose just clips in. Actually, again, before putting this hose back in there, you could just put a little bit of grease on it, on this, and that's gonna sort of make it go in a lot easier and without damaging the O-ring that's sitting in there. Very easy. Before I was struggling a little bit to push it in. Not sure if you noticed that, but as soon as you have a little bit of grease, it helps. So now, well, now we have this cover to go back in there. But what I want to do first, or what I'll do is, from this point, I mean, it's fairly straightforward what you're doing. Obviously, you just have to put these screws back on, and these are a little bit sticky because I left them sitting here for a while until I got my fuel filter, so they do need a bit of a clean. Nice screws, and all of that area there is going to need a clean, but I just don't want to lose this for now. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put some petrol in this car, a little bit more than I had before, and hopefully have a running car. And this stuff you can clean, it will come out. It is fuel that got spilled, so if you're gonna work with this, make sure you have a lot of rags or paper to absorb fuel to absorb and avoid a little bit of that mess. But it does come out. I'm using some brake and clutch fluid cleaning fluid, and it does help a lot, but this needs to soak a little bit because I left it there for a few days, so I will leave it soaking for a bit. But you definitely want to clean it because otherwise it's going to be smelling of petrol. So anyway, I'm gonna put fuel and hopefully this car starts. Okay, I put 8 liters of fuel, and now I'm going to I'm gonna have to prime this a little bit. I think this car, it's got an immobilizer. Okay, I can hear that. I can hear the fuel pump pumping, and it sounds like it's got some fuel in it, so we may have a start. I'll just pump it maybe 4 times, make sure that fuel is going past filling up the fuel filter. We might need a little bit of encouragement. Battery's a little bit low. I may need my jump starter. Yeah, that's a bit dead. Right, I've connected the a power pack to the battery. Try to get this thing going. I think it maybe wanting to start now. Right, there we go. Car started and is running smoothly. So I had a misfire before. So as far as changing the the fuel filter, that's pretty much the how I did it. It's not really a difficult job, but it is a bit difficult when you try to pull that cover out. So definitely put a little bit of grease when you fit it back, and it's going to be a lot easier. Having said that, I hope the video helps. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow, and we'll see you guys in the next video. So thank you for watching.